Okay, we're holding here in the Gemara in Mesechta Megillah. Dav Dalid Amud Aleph 4a. Shalom Aleichem Reb Moshe.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, I have a question for you. Do you like where'd the picture go? Picture became small. Was bigger before larger. Have you ever seen a dog drinking wine? So this is in the Gemara a phenomena that they were able to train a dog to drink wine in times of Koresh. Now there is such a thing, I've seen it, that there are monkeys somewhere in India or somewhere which became addicted to alcohol, meaning that they used to eat coconuts that fell off of the tree, and the coconuts were laying on the ground for so long they started fermenting. When they ate the coconuts, they would be affected by the alcohol. They used to misbehave. They used to be pretty aggressive or drunk monkeys, and they actually got addicted to alcohol. So that thing I have seen. But as the Gemara will talk about, a dog drinking wine. Let's see the Gemara. We're trying to figure out if this king over here, Darius, the second, known as Koresh, known as Atachshasta, who was a king for many years, according to Persian tradition, he killed his father, Achashverosh, in order to take over the reins of kingship, of rulership. And he was the one who allowed the Jews to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash in the second year of his reign. Hence, they gave him credit. They considered him to be, Shalom Aleichem Reb Pinchas, a Jewish king. Now, the Gemara says, but we see later on, we consider him to be a non-Jewish king. Shalom Aleichem Reb Label. We go to Freilich Hayar, we said already some Tehillim. So we'll go back to October 7th at the end of Mitzvah Hashem again. So, Darius, who killed his father, according to the Persian tradition, and he became the king who allowed the Beis HaMikdash to be built. In the beginning, he was considered and given credit like a righteous, like a Jewish king, and later on, they considered him to be a Gentile king. In the beginning, his new year was counted in Tanakh from the month of Nisan as a Jewish king. Later on, it changed to Tishrei like a non-Jewish king. The Gemara says that he was never really a righteous king, or he sort of became unrighteous, and we had different ways of explaining it. One way was explaining how when he had the Beis HaMikdash being rebuilt, he had it built in such a way that he made wood between on the base and between the rows of the Beis HaMikdash, in order that if the Jews should ever rebel, he could always destroy the Beis HaMikdash easily. Here, wood in the walls of Ezra. The king only allowed him to build walls if he had wood sticking out, flush with the wall, that was also at the base of the wall, that the wall could always collapse. Here, the walls were plastered. In the first Beis HaMikdash, the walls also had wood, but they were sunken in. They were plastered to blend in with the wall. Therefore, he wasn't such a righteous king. Or he only gave in order that that the Jews should daven for him to be successful. Third answer we gave is we brought up a verse which said that when Nehemiah came to the king, to Daryavesh, asking him to please let us rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, let us rebuild the walls of Yerushalayim, let us have security, he had the shagol was sitting next to him. And what is a shagol? Here it's explained as a queen was sitting next to him. Shagol usually means a concubine. But here, he says shagol over here means a female dog, which he used to keep for him for his own illicit reasons, illicit pleasures. He used to keep a female dog next to him. And that's definitely forbidden, even for a non-Jew. And therefore, he wasn't such a tzaddik. Gemara asks the question, seemingly, the word shagol is used sometimes differently as a dog. A shagol is used as someone who drinks wine. And so seemingly it is a queen, which is not so bad. And the Gemara answers, he trained in his court, he enjoyed having a dog that drinks wine, just to entertain the king. For if you're a king, you have whatever you want, all the money, all the pleasures, everything you could ever possibly want. So for you to have another queen, another concubine is not a big deal. What is a big deal is to have an animal saying hello to you and a dog serving you. So they train the dog to drink wine. So the Gemara asks, Kalbasa bar mishtay chamrehi? Can a female dog, drink wine? And the Gemara answers, Halekashya, the malfalavashasya. They've trained the female dog to drink wine. And this is what's usually done in palaces of kings, training animals to make all different types of acrobatics and different types of things. The Gemara asks the question, if you're telling me that a shagol means a dog, shagol, Veyadaata, it says about Mashiach, when Mashiach comes in Tehillim, it calls him the same term. It calls that there will be a shagol. Let's look at the Tehillim, chapter 45. Veyadaata d'chsiv, it says a contradiction. It says, B'nois melachim, B'kerseka niksva shega lamincha bechesem oicher. Bechesem oifir. King's daughters are amongst your favorites. Shega lamincha bechesem oifir. At your right hand stands the queen in the gold of Ophir. Ophir is a land which we don't know exactly where it is. Some people know where it is, but Ophir is a land which is full of gold. We used to say America in Europe, we used to say they pave the streets with gold. So the Ophir is a land which is commonly brought that it's a land full of gold. And it says, this is from the sons of Koresh, right? The sons of Koresh. We're singing this, and they're singing about what's going to happen in the future when Mashiach comes. And they're saying that we're going to have all these, they're saying the praises of the Jewish people, and and verse 10 says, King's daughters are among your favorites. At your right hand stands a queen in the gold of Ophir. So the question the Gemara asks is, what type of v'i shegel kalbasahi, and if the word shegel means a dog, mai kamavasu l'navi l'Yisrael, what type of good tidings, what type of heralding of good news, what type of praise is it that you're praising the Jewish people? That Mashiach will come, and the king's daughters are amongst your favorites. Upon your right hand stands a consort in gold of Ophir. You're trying to tell me on your right hand will stand a dog adorned in the gold of Ophir? Are these the great praises there's going to be when Mashiach comes? Now, the shegel yamincha, the shegel is on your right hand, on your right side. It says by Daryavish as well, by Darius, that Bas shegel is sheves etzli, and the shegel was sitting next to him. And if a shegel is not a queen, if shegel is a dog, so what type of praise will this be? That on the right hand of Mashiach, sitting on his right hand side, is going to be a beautiful dog, adorned in gold? Is that a praise for Mashiach? I don't know. It doesn't sound like a tremendous praise. So why do you say that shegel means specifically a dog? So the Gemara answers, this particular pasuk in Tehillim is not a literal, it's not to be taken literally, it's rather meant to be taken as a mashal, as a sort of a parable, an allegory. So the Gemara answers, Hachi Kamar. This is what the pasuk in Tehillim says. Verse 10, Benois Melachim Bikresacha, the king's daughters are among your favorites. Your right hand stands a queen in gold of Ophir. What it means is, B'schar shechaviva Torah Yisrael kishegal lagoyim. In the merit that the learning of Torah is beloved to the Jewish people, just like the shegel, which is the dog, is beloved to the nations of the world, and that's the original text, Goyim, the nations of the world. In Vilna, it was under the Russian Empire, so everything was censored. So they changed it to Ovdei Kechavim, to idol worshippers, and saying that everything that speaks negative is not talking about all non-Jews, only about the idol worshippers. Of course, there's the Chassidim, the pious of the nations of the world, who are not included in these things of the Gemara. So just like a shegel is beloved to the nations of the world, so too Torah is precious to the Jewish people, and in that merit, Zechisem lekesem Ophir, you merited to have the gold of Ophir, which is the very special, precious gold. Some places it calls it it's white gold, and it's on your right side. Just like we see Daryavish, he put the shegel, the female dog, on his right side, out of great, appreciation and love for it. Whatever you have something precious, you put on your right side. Even legally, if you have an American flag and another flag, the American flag has to go on the right. So something which is that you held in great prestige, you put on your right, and therefore the Torah is held by such prestige by the Jewish people, as the dogs, female dogs, are by the nations, and therefore the reward will be that we will have this beautiful white gold when Mashiach comes. So it's going on the love of the Jewish people to the Torah. Ben Ish Chai says a wonderful vart over here, which even in nations of the world, meaning they love their wives, I'm assuming, more than their female dogs. I mean, they might have a female dog for an illicit purpose, but they love their wives more. So he explains, this shows how beloved the dogs are. Because it's something degrading to be intimate with a dog, and still they love them. The Torah, the Jewish people love the Torah, even if, as a result of their love to the Torah, they might endure hardships or ridicule or embarrassments. Like David HaMelech, when he was dancing in front of the Aron, the Ark of Hashem, and he had no compunctions, he didn't hold himself back if he's going to be embarrassed by it or not. And therefore, our devotion to Torah goes beyond even what other people could say. That you have to fit in, you have to, you have to be honorable. Our devotion to Torah goes beyond that. The Nitziv, Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, V'lozhen Rosh Yeshiva, and he explains that just like it's not natural for a person to want to love intimately a dog, and the nations of the world do it anyways. So why? Because they're so drawn after this particular taiva, this particular lustful thing. So too, the love the Jewish people have to Hashem is a unnatural type of love, goes beyond the normal relatable love that people have. More than the love, you could say, to even one's kin, is our love to the Torah. We're holding the days between Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, and how many stories there are about Rebbe Yitzchak of Berdichev, how he advocated for the Jewish people even if they weren't deserving of it. He always found something positive to say in every situation. And he explains in Kedushas Levi on this particular explanation of the Gemara that every single person has different aspects to them. There's the first aspect, we're talking about shegel. Shegel means, again, using euphemisms, it means intimate relations. Every single person, they're conceived, they were pregnant, they were in the mother's womb for 9 months, and then they were born. Every single person's neshama has the same idea. First is conceived. Conceived is the original drop, the original seed. It's a person's heart first gets the first excitement. The first is Eirus to serve Hashem. Then comes the gestation period, the period of pregnancy, when you want to do a mitzvah. And then comes a birth when you do the mitzvah. So first comes the desire, then the excitement, and then the actual doing of the mitzvah. Now, if you look at this Gemara, you can ask a question. Why does this verse in Tehillim say that the greatness is a Mashiach, and because Nix v'Shekel Mincha, because the Jewish people love the Torah, like the nations love their shegel, their female dogs, therefore we will be adorned with tremendous gold. There's many things that people like, besides for just this particular thing. Why specifically a female dog? Why make a comparison of how much we love the Torah to the amount the nations love doing this particular sin? And he explains, because in this particular sin, Avera, you take the Koyach HaAdam, the Ein Sof, the infinite power which Hashem gives to mankind, in order to be mashpia, to give to others, and you could have a mekabel, a recipient, which is a very high level of Ein Sof, of infinite power. And instead of using it out in the productive way, they're doing it to a shegel, to a female dog, which is a makabel, which is a wrong recipient for what's supposed to be given. So they are giving, and they're giving in the wrong way. However, the Jewish people are mekablim. We accept, we receive from Hashem. In our relationship with Hashem, Hashem gives, and we receive from Hashem. And therefore, we also have three different time periods. We have the conception, we have the pregnancy, and we have the giving birth. Once you have the conception, the zuriya, the way of kedusha, as soon as you begin to serve Hashem, right away, it's already, we're doing it already in a way that we want to serve Hashem. We are Hashem's recipient. So the conception is already that we are doing what Hashem wants. We do a mitzvah because we want to get closer to Hashem. That's a zriya. Hiroyin, being the pregnancy, is when we start to develop our initial desire to get close to Hashem, until we give birth, till we actually do a mitzvah because of that desire. And when you do that, it says, Isha mazras tchila yilet zacher, if a woman, right, there's mazras tchila, it gives a first seed, as different explanations are, gives birth to a male, is the reaction from Hashem is once we make a little turn to Hashem, we say, Hashem, we're ready to be Mekabel. Hashem gives us more and more, and then you let the Zachar, then we give birth to a male. A male is something which is steady, doesn't change. The idea of the Shemesh, of the sun. And that in turn brings Kedusha in all the worlds lasting forever. Let's continue. But this also really could explain the Gemara before, with the whole story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah goes to the king, King Daryavish, Artaxerxes as it's called, and he tells him, let me rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. And he says, I spoke to the king, and the shegel was sitting next to him. Why is that important? And it's important because, based on what we're saying later on here in the Gemara, shegel means that the king had a beloved dog, and the Jewish people are beloved, love their Torah, as the nations of the world have their beloved own vices. But because in the merit we love the Torah so much, let us rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara answers, that's one answer. So the first answer is, when the Pasuk in Tehillim says, Niktzva Shegel Mincha, it's a reference, a euphemism to the Torah. Let's go to the verse there. The second explanation is, and this is an explanation that Rashi brings over here on the spot, the word shegel actually means queen. Your wife will stand by your right side. Let's see what it says. Shegel malchasa. Really, the word shegel means a consort, a concubine. The Rabba bar Lema Gomirla. Rabba bar Lema had a tradition connected with Koresh, that in that particular case, Koresh means Koresh had a shegel, Koresh had a female dog. Which was as precious to him as a consort. Inami, queen or a concubine. So this was our other understanding. How do we know that Koresh became corrupted? He wasn't always such a righteous king. Another answer we could give, and with this we're going to finish a discussion about Daryavish. Koresh, Daryavish, Artaxerxes. This person over here, that's the picture from him of his tomb. This is a colored, the original paintings all had color in it, but they faded with the years. It's just a rendering of how it would have looked like. I'll give you another understanding, another proof. From where do we see that he became corrupted? In the beginning he was a righteous king, and later on he changed and became a non-righteous king. Mehacha, when we look at the decree that Artaxerxes sent, so Koresh sent a decree, hear ye, hear ye. He sent through with Ezra, they should give all the needs of the Beis HaMikdash. Okay. Let's look at the context there. After all this, during the reign of King Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra, who went all the way back to Aaron HaKohen, and he went up from Babel, and the king granted him his request, and he brought up many Jews with him, some not, and this is and he came in the 5th month, in the month of Elul, in the 7th year of the king, and he brought a copy of the letter that King Daryavish Artaxerxes gave to give over to everyone, and to give everything that the Beis HaMikdash needs, and make a decree that the Kohen and Levim could all go to Eretz Yisrael, carry silver and gold, which we have given you to Eretz Yisrael. And whoever gives you gold, you could take. And buy different korbanos, you should bring them to the Beis HaMikdash, and so on and so on. Whatever you need, take. And I also say that it should be done well, and I am personally donating 100 talents of silver, 100 measures of wheat, 100 baths of wine, 100 baths of oil, and salt as much as needed. And I'm personally donating all of this. But the words he uses is ad kesef kikarin meya. Ad means until 100 measures of wheat, 100 baths of wine, 100 baths of oil, up to. So as it states, ad kesef kikarin meya, v'achintin kurin meya, v'chamar batin meya, v'batin mash meya, malachti laksav gomer. Meikara b'likitzusa v'hashta b'kitzusa. In the beginning, he gave them as much as he wanted. He gave. And later on, he started giving amounts. I'll give this amount, up to this amount, up to that amount. The Gemara says, Dilma meikara, maybe in the beginning, Mishum shelo yehava kamle b'kitzusa, maybe he didn't know how much they needed. So maybe he told them, take as much, just take. And later on, he told them, take up to this amount. But in the beginning, he told them, take as much as you need, because he didn't know how much he needed. But now he knew how much he needed. Maybe it's not a proof that he became corrupted. He's giving foreign aid, and he says foreign aid up to this amount. Is that a proof that he's corrupted? Maybe he knows how much they need. Rather, clearly, like we said before, we know from other places that Koresh was corrupted from the fact that he had a female dog, and the fact that he built the Beis HaMikdash with a plan to destroy it in case of a need, and from the fact that he gave money on condition that you pray for me and my family. Those other answers are the ones which we see that he became corrupted, and therefore wasn't able to be considered in a Jewish king. But this reason that he gave with a limit is not a proof that he became corrupted. Right, we'll pause the Gemara over here. Today it's October 7th, and in Eretz Yisrael and the whole world, they're all commemorating October 7th in the Kedoshim. It's definitely a day to say lots of extra Tehillim. We said extra Tehillim this morning. Give lots of extra tzedakah. And Baruch Hashem, we see tremendous nisim and miracles all around the world that are happening. Just next out of this. But here, you see one person had in mind, what they could do to help. And perhaps this is, one of the reasons why we see tremendous nisim and miracles. I'm sure you know the Dan's Deals website. And he started a fund to give out tefillin. And his mission is to give a pair of tefillin to any Jewish man that can't afford one. And particularly Israeli soldiers. Started October 7th. They themselves gave hundreds of, 120 pairs. The goal was to give out 1,200 pairs of tefillin in memory of the 1,200 Kedoshim. They met that goal in 3 months, and they haven't stopped since. And so far, they've given out 2,041 pairs of tefillin, 27 countries, and at least 126,000 people who have wrapped tefillin. Much, much more they've given out already. They have a whole team of 6 Sofrim, 1 Rav Machshir and all the Sofrim in Eretz Yisrael. Every single person over here is a whole story, how they're putting on tefillin. One of the conditions is that you have to find someone else to put on tefillin with as well, with your new pair of tefillin. They have a whole team of 17 people, 5 employees, 17 people who verify every single person who applies for tefillin. If you know anyone that would like tefillin, they could apply, be matched with a donor. This was just just an example of some of the places where they put on tefillin, where people have bought tefillin around the globe. Let's see, it's not working so well. Let's see, just 1 second. Let's resume the share. Okay, let's go to this. Um, 2,041 men are putting on tefillin, 3,918 donors. It's just one example. It's one Jew in Indiana who had no connection to Yiddishkeit. He saw a campaign offering to give tefillin. He was inspired after October 7th. Now he's part of the Chabad in Indiana, and he continues to grow. Another person says, it's a privilege for me to put on tefillin every day. Someone else says that he was the first member of his family since the Holocaust to put on tefillin. One of the pairs of tefillin from an Israeli soldier on a tour in Europe. 2,231 civilians committed to start wearing tefillin every day and requesting their own pair. 748 IDF soldiers signed up to receive a pair of tefillin and committed to wearing them every day. 2,041 pairs of tefillin have been distributed, 18 hand-picked sofrim, 4 tefillin kashrus checkers, 1 Rav Machshir, a team checking and assembling the tefillin, hundreds of rabbis verifying all the sign-ups, 5 full-time employees. And you see, Baruch Hashem, just the amount of people putting on tefillin all over the world, and we see the tremendous miracles that come out. So if we know today's Eretz Yisrael, they're commemorating October 7th today. I guess while it's still on the world's mind. But other years it's on. It's going to be on Simchas Torah, Hebrew date. And Simchas Torah, you can't really put on tefillin with other Jews, but today you could. Today you are able to help other Jews put on tefillin on October 7th. So Hashgacha Pratis, perhaps every person on their own could help someone else put on tefillin physically, or sponsor a period tefillin at this website for another Jew, and definitely do all we can to help every other Jew to put on tefillin. Yeah, here's just people who have been donating to the tefillin campaign. Sarah. Okay, we will continue last few minutes. Tomorrow we're going to, at the end, we'll do a little dive into Kaparas. Tomorrow in Pittsburgh we're doing Kaparas. I don't know whether they're doing it in Florida, what time. And so we'll do a little deep dive into the minhag, when it started, when did it start the minhag to have a chicken. Interestingly, the minhag to start with a chicken really started in Europe, when chickens were the most common. Everyone had a chicken in their yard, and they were the most common animal around. That's when the minhag of actually chicken started. And we'll go into a deep dive about the. Sorry. Were you able to see the screen with the tefillin campaign? Yeah, it's just some of the impact of the tefillin campaign. We'll continue the last few minutes with Veyadaata Moskva. If you have the book, we're holding page 233. Hashem's anonymity. To be able to see beyond the veil, beyond the superficial perception that Hashem puts, and to go beyond what you see with your eyes, requires a lot of avodah, a lot of effort on a person's end. But once you achieve that, so then you're never going to be pressured. You're always going to feel calm and serene, knowing that anything which is a difficulty is just a challenge which Hashem put specifically for you, for that individual, to test the resolve. So the problem is not really a problem, just a problem of how we look at everything. When a person unifies the two names of Hashem, Havaya and Elikim, Hainu she'ein Shem Elikim mastir. Klal Hashem Havaya, the name of Elikim does not conceal the name of Havaya, does not conceal over Hashem's name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Chol esavishu m'Shem Havaya, rak she'over al yedei Shem Elikim. And one has this approach, and they realize that everything comes from Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the infinite name of Hashem, and Hashem is in complete control every single moment, and Hashem is providing everything one could possibly ever need, and more than we even think we need at every moment. Hashem has never abandoned us yet. He's not about to start. And just there's a medium of Shem Elikim. And therefore, every single means and medium is absolutely of no importance, whether it's an angel or the mazel, a physical means, have no importance of their own right. They're merely agents to bring what Hashem wants, and they're like a axe in the hands of the wood chopper. So too, every physical object is merely a means that Hashem is using to give what He wants to give at that moment. So they're not fundamentally important, the physical thing at all. The main thing is the divine blessing which comes through any physical means. And therefore, we have to try very hard to earn a living. By yisamitz, you should apply yourself, yishtadel, and make a lot of effort to ensure that your business is conducted in such a way that you are a fitting receptacle to accept Hashem's light. And therefore, not trying to outdo the other one, or be more crafty than the other one, or become overly involved in business. And making sure that the business will not disturb him, hold him back, trouble him from learning Torah, davening. Because this is the truth, and nothing can have any power to prevent you from serving Hashem. They're not, God forbid, a real concealment. As at length it was discussed, that every medium and in the world functions merely to bring Hashem's light to and Hashem's blessing. How could they prevent one from serving Hashem? As Friedrich Rebbe says, that when the Alter Rebbe was in prison, and he says at the end of his time in prison, he had to be told to leave prison because he was so happy. He was missing he had within the Baal Shem Tov and the Magid the entire time at the end of his time in prison, and he was told, and he said he was missing nothing, even a new garment for Shabbos. He would have, Alter Rebbe had a handkerchief, and he would cut another piece every week and connect it to his garment, and he would have a new garment for Shabbos every week. He had everything he possibly wanted. It is only a person, if their knowledge is not developed, and they are involved in superficial things, they could forget about Hashem, and to think that a physical object has some importance. And he gives himself over to them, and they hold him back from fulfilling what he needs. When one focuses her mind on Hashem, and that Hashem gives us the power and ability to be strong, and every physical means is only there to support us. It's Hashem's way of giving us blessing. Our equal kus and Hashem's fundamentally important. There's nothing internal, external will hold them back or hinder their success. So financial prosperity cannot be taken away if one is serving Hashem. It cannot be the cost, because serving Hashem will not be able to take away the blessing of Hashem. There is a very interesting letter, perhaps another day I'll bring it up, the actual letter, a copy of it. The Rebbe, I think his name was Rabbi Gansberg, which he was a sheichet. And he would go to shecht, and many times there would not be, in places where he went to shecht, there was no minyan. He had to go there early in the morning and be there maybe a day or two sometimes. So he wouldn't always have a minyan, and he had to say Kaddish. So he wrote a letter to the Rebbe asking what should he do, because he's not going to have a minyan to say Kaddish. So the Rebbe writes a full-page letter saying that, first of all, Kaddish is a minhag, it's a custom. And you could hire somebody else to say Kaddish for you to make sure Kaddish will always be said. And you say when you can, and when you can't do it. And especially, if you're the one who's saying Kaddish for, will want you to do that, be a sheichet, and you're doing a leches shemayim, and this is your parnasa. So therefore, he gives several halachic reasons why it's okay for him to go to a place where he can't say Kaddish if there's no minyan. But then at the end, the Rebbe writes, I'm only writing all this because I don't know your level of trust, of bitachon in Hashem. But if you had true bitachon, true trust in Hashem, then Hashem will give you your parnasa, your livelihood, in a way that you never have to miss a minyan, and you'll never have to miss a Kaddish. Hashem will give you your parnasa in such a way if you have true bitachon, if you have true trust in Hashem. There's a recording of the Rebbe saying it, that the Frierdiker Rebbe, in the last year after his passing, and before he passed away, he wanted Svarim of the Tzemach Tzedek to be printed, the third Chabad Rebbe. And there was a certain person who wasn't the greatest Mekusher Chassid, so to speak, but he was very greatest Chassid, his very great Mekusher, very big connected to the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he heard that the Frierdiker Rebbe wanted Svarim to be printed, and he asked why they weren't printed, and it was because they didn't have money for it. So he undertook upon himself to pay for the whole printing. Now, this person did not have a lot of money on his own. Probably could not have afforded it. He was a taxi driver. And he wouldn't have been able to sponsor, to print to a sefer at all. And he didn't know any other business but taxi driving. He wasn't someone who tried his hand at other fields. But he did what he knew the Frierdiker Rebbe wanted. And with that, he says, without him even knowing or new avenues of livelihood opened up for him, and he was able to, in a short time, he didn't have to drive a taxi anymore. He was able to earn a lot of money, become very wealthy, and he says he was able to pay for the printing of the sefer and have much more left for him and his family to live very well off of. And he says it happened because he came with the approach that this is what's needed, and therefore this is going to be done. He didn't come and make a calculation, I'm not able to do this right now. But rather, he went ahead and he just went and agreed to do it. So this is the idea that we look for the Havaya, we look past Elikim, we open up new avenues and new blessings. And Hashem should